The fog before you offers a choice: pass through or flee. Beyond lie unexplainable stories, moments that show the dark effects of modern warfare on our minds. This is the story of both reality and memory, both guilt and innocence. You alone will determine what to believe as you pass through this place called the fog of war. When David Parker opened his eyes, there was blood on his hands. But it wasn't his blood. Sergeant Martinez was dead. His rifle was missing, and he couldn't remember the last 12 hours. He was alone in Baghdad's most dangerous district. David's head was throbbing. When he lifted his head, he tried to understand where he was. He was inside a ruined building. Street lights filtered through the windows. He was in Sadr City. He looked at his hands. His palms were covered in blood. There were blood stains on his uniform, too. He began to panic. Was he wounded? He checked his body. No wounds, no pain. This blood wasn't his. He looked around. 3 meters away lay Sergeant Martinez's corpse, bullet hole in his head, eyes open, staring blankly at the ceiling. Martinez, David whispered. But his friend didn't answer. He never would. David tried to stand up. His balance was off. There must have been an IED explosion. He was experiencing symptoms of concussion brain trauma. But it was 2:45. The last thing he remembered was around 14:30 in the afternoon. They had gone on patrol, then the explosion, then nothing. 12 hours were lost. David checked his pockets. His wallet was there. Inside, family photo, driver's license, $50. Normal. But in his left pocket was something that shouldn't be there. A blood-stained lighter. David didn't smoke. Whose lighter was this? In his right pocket was a broken cell phone. Screen cracked, not working. But this wasn't his phone. David's phone was military issue. This was civilian. Strangest of all was the dirt stuck to the bottom of his left boot. Reddish soil. There was no such soil in this area. David sensed something was wrong. But what? He reached for his rifle. His M4 wasn't there. He checked his pistol. Safety off, chamber loaded. But one bullet was missing. His heart began racing. David approached Martinez. The sergeant was 28 years old. Puerto Rican heritage, good soldier, good friend. He had 3 children. He examined the wound. Bullet entered from behind his head, exited through his forehead. Close-range shot. There were powder burn marks. Martinez's weapon was beside him. But his magazine was empty. He had fought. David searched Martinez's pockets. He had his normal belongings. But in his left pocket he found something strange. A family photo. But not Martinez's family. An Iraqi family. Father, mother, 2 children. There was Arabic writing on the back of the photo. David didn't know Arabic. Why would this photo belong to Martinez? David examined the building more thoroughly. Besides Martinez, there were 3 more corpses, all civilian-dressed Iraqi men. The first was by the door. 2 bullet wounds in his chest. Fatal injuries. The second was under the stairs. Blunt trauma to the head. Looked like he'd been beaten with something. The third was by the window. Throat cut. David was shocked. This wasn't war. It was a massacre. And David had awakened alone in the middle of it. He examined the first civilian more closely. There was an ID card in his pocket. Ahmed Al-Mahmoud, 34 years old, electrician. A family photo showing he had a wife and 2 children. This photo was the same as the one in Martinez's pocket. David examined his pistol again. Glock 19. 1 bullet missing. He looked at Martinez's wound. 9 millimeters. Glock 19 ammunition. A terrible suspicion began forming in David's mind. But this was impossible. He wouldn't kill Martinez. Martinez was a friend, but the evidence said otherwise. David smelled his pistol. Recently fired. It had the smell of gunpowder. He reevaluated the bloodstains on his hands. Fresh blood. It had gotten there in the last few hours. And David remembered none of it. David closed his eyes, tried to remember. His head hurt, but he forced himself. 14:30. Patrol. Martinez and he. Routine check in Sadr City. There was something. Unclear. An Iraqi man had approached them. He looked worried. He wanted help. Soldiers. Help. My family. The man wanted to take them to a building. Martinez had hesitated. David, this could be a trap. But the man was very convincing. He said children were in danger, then emptiness. David couldn't remember more. David left the building. The street was quiet. It was 3 a.m. Most people were in their homes. But going out on the street at night here was very dangerous. Militants were everywhere. David was unarmed, alone, and didn't know exactly where he was. He looked at his radio. Broken. He couldn't communicate with base. He looked around. An unfamiliar neighborhood. Buildings destroyed, streets full of potholes. In the distance, he heard dogs barking, and sometimes automatic weapon fire. Baghdad never sleeps. War never stops. David needed to make a plan. But first, he had to learn the truth. David went to the adjacent building. Maybe someone had seen. Maybe they could explain what happened. The apartment door was open. Inside was an elderly Iraqi woman. She was frightened when she saw David. Please, no hurt. No hurt, the woman said. David raised his hands. I won't hurt you. What happened? What did you see? The woman was very scared. She was muttering something in Arabic. American soldier, the woman said. Bad things. Very bad things. What bad things? The woman pointed at David. You did bad things. David's heart stopped. What did I do? You killed family. Ahmed family. Good people. The woman, with David's insistence, was able to explain a little in broken English. Ahmed al-Mahmoud and his family were in this building. Good people. Ahmed was an electrician. His wife was a teacher. They had 2 children. In the afternoon, Ahmed had seen American soldiers on the street. He asked for help, for electrical problems. Ahmed had taken David and Martinez to his home. Then, gunshots, screams. The woman had hidden. She was scared. Around 7 in the evening, David had come out of the building, hands covered in blood, alone. They hadn't seen Martinez. Where Ahmed family? David asked. The woman began crying. Dead, all dead. Ahmed, wife, children, all dead. David's world collapsed. David returned to that building. This time he searched more carefully. Upstairs there were 3 rooms. In the first room, a male corpse. Ahmed. In the second room, a female corpse. His wife. In the third room, David couldn't bring himself to enter. But he knew. The children were dead too. The meaning of the blood on his hands was now clear. David felt like vomiting. He stopped in the corridor and tried to breathe. This wasn't possible. He was David Parker, from Ohio, a good family kid. He had joined the army to serve his country. He wouldn't kill innocent people. He wouldn't kill children. But the evidence was clear. David tried to understand what had happened to Martinez. Maybe Martinez had tried to stop him. Maybe when Martinez saw what David was doing, he had intervened. And David had killed him too. But why? Why would David do such a thing? IED explosion, head trauma. Maybe David's behavior had changed. Maybe he had lost control. But was this an excuse? David sat next to Martinez's corpse. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm sorry, friend. But sorry wasn't enough. Martinez was dead. Ahmed's family was dead. and David was responsible. David tried to remember again, this time in more detail. Ahmed had taken them to his home. His wife had offered tea. The children had curiously watched the American soldiers. Martinez was uncomfortable. David, let's get out of here. This doesn't feel right. But Ahmed insisted. He wanted to show the electrical problem. Then, unclear. Something had happened. Severe pain in David's head. Then, anger. Great anger. He had yelled at Ahmed. He didn't know why. Martinez had tried to intervene. David, calm down. But David hadn't calmed down. There was something inside him he couldn't control. The rest was darkness. David forced himself harder. He had to remember. Ahmed's son, 7 or 8 years old. He had approached David. He wanted to see the American soldiers' equipment. The child had touched David's pistol, and David had gone crazy. "Don't touch!" he had screamed. He had pushed the child. The child had fallen. Ahmed had tried to protect his son. He had yelled at David. Martinez had tried to calm David down. But David had completely lost control. He had drawn his pistol, first shot at Ahmed, then his wife, then... David stopped remembering. He couldn't bear it. Martinez had tried to stop David. He had drawn his pistol. "David, give up." This is madness. But David had seen him as a threat, too. Martinez was a friend, but at that moment, he was the enemy. There had been a brief struggle between them. David was stronger. He had taken Martinez's weapon. Then, one bullet. To Martinez's head, David had killed his closest friend. After remembering, David collapsed. He began crying. This couldn't be real. It had to be a dream. It had to be a nightmare. But Martinez's corpse was there. Ahmed's family was upstairs. It was real. David cried for hours. The pain inside was unbearable. He had killed 5 people. Among them were 2 children. And his closest friend. Why? There was no answer to this question. IED explosion can cause brain damage. It can lead to behavioral changes. Violence tendency can increase. But was this an excuse? Was it sufficient justification for killing people? David thought about killing himself. He had his pistol. 1 bullet remained. But was this also an escape route? If he died too, who would be responsible? David thought he had 3 options. 1, commit suicide. But this would be escape. It wouldn't provide justice. 2, run away, hide in villages, but live with guilt for life. 3, surrender, face the consequences. David thought for a long time. Which choice was right? He thought of Martinez. What would Martinez do? Martinez would do the right thing. He always did. David made his decision. David stood up. He would ensure he returned to base. He put his pistol back in its holster. He no longer needed it. He went outside. He tried to find direction. Morning was coming. The sun was beginning to rise. Iraq's sun was hot, as always. But David was cold. While walking, he looked at every Iraqi he encountered. Did they also know what David had done? When he saw children, he stopped. Every child reminded him of the children Ahmed had killed. While David was walking, he met an elderly Iraqi man. The man recognized him. "You soldier, you kill Ahmed family?" David stopped. He couldn't deny it. "Yes," he said, "I did." The man looked at him. In his eyes there was hatred, pain, disappointment. Why? Ahmed, good man. Children, innocent. David couldn't answer, because he didn't know either. "I don't know," he said. "I'm sorry." The man said something sharp to him. David didn't understand, but he guessed. He was cursing him. David walked for hours. Finally, he could see the perimeter of Camp Liberty. There was a checkpoint. American soldiers had pointed weapons at him. "Halt! Identify yourself." "Private David Parker, 101st Airborne." Soldier, where have you been? You're AWOL for 18 hours. David stopped. 18 hours? He only didn't remember 12 hours, so the real lost time was longer. I need to speak to my CO. Immediately. You're in trouble, Parker. Big trouble. David was taken to Lieutenant Colonel Johnson's office. Johnson was angry. Parker, where the hell have you been? And where is Martinez? David took a deep breath. Sir, I need to confess something. Confess? What did you do? I killed 5 Iraqi civilians, sir, and I killed Sergeant Martinez. Johnson's face changed. What did you just say? I murdered them, sir. I remember everything now. Johnson immediately called the MPS. David was handcuffed. David was interrogated for hours. He told every detail. He hid nothing. Psychiatrist Dr. Wilson examined him. David, you may have experienced temporary psychosis after the IED explosion. This could explain your behavior, but doesn't excuse it. I know, doctor. I'm not looking for excuses. Why did you surrender? You could have escaped. Because Martinez would have done this. This is the right thing. Dr. Wilson took notes. You also have PTSD symptoms. Long-term treatment may be needed. The news leaked to the media. Headlines read, U.S. soldier kills Iraqi family. David's family was shocked. His mother called from Arkansas. David, is this true? Did you really? Yes, Mom. It's true. His mother was crying. But you're a good kid. You don't do things like this. I did, Mom. And I should be punished for it. The media had declared David a monster. But David didn't care. The court-martial began. David pleaded guilty to his charges. The prosecutor wanted heavy punishment. This man killed 5 innocent people. There is no excuse for this. The defense attorney presented mitigating circumstances. My client experienced war trauma. His mental capacity was not in place. But David rejected both. Your Honor, I am guilty. I want punishment. The judge was surprised. Usually defendants claimed they were innocent. David was found guilty of 5 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. He would serve his sentence at Leavenworth Military Prison. David accepted the sentence. He didn't appeal. Is this enough? His lawyer asked. No, David said. But it's a beginning. The courtroom was silent. David was taken away in handcuffs. Hard days awaited David at Leavenworth Military Prison. Other inmates condemned him. There was no tolerance, especially for soldiers who killed children. David was attacked, beaten, but he didn't fight back. I deserve it, he said. I deserve much more. Dr. Sarah Mitchell was David's psychiatrist in prison. David, do you regret what happened? Every day, every hour, every minute. What about Martinez? Do you regret him too? David cried. Martinez was my closest friend. Killing him is my greatest sin. Do you want to get better? Can I get better? I killed 5 people. How does that heal? Dr. Mitchell looked at him patiently. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means accepting. 3 years later, David received an unexpected letter. Ahmed's brother Mahmoud had written, I am Ahmed's brother. I am very angry with you. But I also understand that you are suffering too. Ahmed's children were beautiful children. Remember their names, Ali and Fatima. Don't forget them. I don't forgive you. But I don't forget you either. David read the letter and cried. Ali and Fatima. They had names. They weren't just children. This letter became a turning point in David's treatment. David spent 10 years in prison. He changed a lot during this time. He received psychological treatment. PTSD symptoms decreased. But guilt never went away. He began teaching human rights classes in prison. He told other inmates about war trauma. War changes people, he said. But that's not an excuse. It's just a fact. David wrote in his diary every day. Today I thought about Ahmed's family. Did Ali like playing football? Did Fatima like school? I killed their dreams. I killed their future. Martinez's children are growing up. They'll never know their father. I'm alive, but they're dead. Is this fair? It's not fair. But I'm living. And every day I live, I'll remember them. David's story ends here, but the real story continues. Because trauma never completely goes away. He's still in prison, but different now. He tries to help. He attends training. He tries to heal. He corresponds with Martinez's family. He shows them his support. He covers their children's education expenses. Ahmed's family's grave is in Iraq. David wants to go there someday and apologize in person. But for now, the only thing he can do, remember, Ali, Fatima, Martinez, remember them all. David Parker's story isn't just one soldier's story. This is a warning about war's effects on the human soul. PTSD, brain injuries, and trauma are real. This shouldn't be forgotten when returning soldiers to normal life. But no trauma is an excuse for killing innocent people. David learned this in a very painful way, and now he tries to teach this lesson to others. Maybe redemption only comes through this. Using your own pain to prevent others' pain. Some mistakes can't be undone, but learning from them is at least a beginning. David Parker learns this every day,